Good morning. This is Rich Sierra, President of Florida Small Business Legal Center. Today is a very special day. This is the first time we're doing the show outside of our Florida location in Vegas, Nevada. And we have a special guest with us. We have a local guest from right here from Las Vegas, Mr. Glen Potter. Welcome, Glen.
Hi, Rich. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Glen, tell us a little bit about your background to introduce the audience to you.
Well, yeah, thank you. I'm very excited to be here, first of all, Rich. Thanks. I have been in the hospitality business, casino, hotel business, pushing 30 years now. So I've worked all over. I started in Connecticut at a very popular casino in Connecticut called Foxwoods Resort Casino. At one time, it was the largest casino in the world. And I spent almost 13 years there altogether. I started as a cashier, and I kind of worked my way up into management and became a VIP services manager. Then eventually went over to Mohegan Sun, where I was a casino host with them and Norwegian Cruise Line. And then I became another manager at Foxwoods. And not long after that, I got into human resources and training. And that kicked off my whole training career. And then from there, I went to Maryland and opened the very first casino in Maryland called Maryland Live Casino, where I was the guest experience manager there. And I wrote all of their service standards. And after about 2 years there, I came to Vegas finally. And I worked for a very famous property that was called the Monte Carlo. And they were converting the Monte Carlo into a new property called Park MGM.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so I was the food and beverage training manager there, and we had to rebrand everything into the new Park MGM that exists there today. And so I stayed there until about 2020, and then I went over to the Golden Nugget as the training manager at the hotel. And I stayed there for a couple of years and then landed at Resorts World, where I was the training manager. And now currently, I am the training manager for the very famous Westgate Las Vegas, also known as the former Las Vegas Hilton.
That's a great facility.
Yes, a lot of history there.
Yes. So, you obviously enjoy doing training and development. So what inspired you to pursue that career?
Well, first of all, I'm a people person. So hospitality is very natural for me, and I just love being around people. But more importantly, I think I'm passionate about helping people and also entertaining people at the same time. So but you put the entertainment, you put the hospitality, and you put the training all together, and it's the perfect career for me. I just love what I do.
Today we're going to talk about how training affects small business owners.
Right.
And with the Florida Small Business Legal Center, we primarily work with small business owners. They're the type of businesses that when you drive through a strip mall, those are the people that most likely will be my clients.
Sure.
They're your dry cleaners, your pizza restaurant, your martial arts school, your local accounting firm.
Right, right.
Those are my clients, and they usually have a small budget. They may have 5 or 6 employees.
Yeah.
So they don't have a large budget to really develop a full-blown training program or a very more elaborate training program, if I will.
Right.
So what would you advise a small business owner, even if they have a limited budget, how they can implement a training program?
So training is important regardless of the size of your business right now. Yes, I work for some big corporations who have full-blown learning and development departments. But the foundation of training is hiring the right people. That's where it starts. And if you're in a service type of business, it's super important to hire people who have what I call 51% hospitality skills and 49% technical skills. Because I can train you how to serve a table, I can train you how to make a pizza, but what I can't do is train you on how to give somebody a great experience, right? And so my recommendation to any business, big or small, is start by hiring the right people. Second, be passionate about whatever you do and develop people right from the start. So what does that mean? From the time that you onboard them, and you don't have to go through all the formal onboarding, but just spend quality time with them and put a plan together for them to get them engaged and get them excited.
I find out, I have a law practice, and obviously I have employees, and I have a paralegal, and I've been fortunate it's been with me now for going on 3 years. Right. It's Richard Furiello. So one of the things, and I hired him right out of school. So, out of paralegal school, he had no experience working for law firms.
Sure.
Now he's been with me for 3 years. He's been promoted to client services manager.
Excellent.
But one of the things that I did was really invest a lot on training. So I was looking for continuing education courses for him to take and get familiar with some of the procedures.
Right.
And
which is always a good thing to do. And, it's important to write a plan down, right? And some of that is, are there outside places that you can send them for training? Or it could be just simple online classes that you find on LinkedIn or you find on Indeed, or even you could send them out to like the American Management Association to take classes. But just develop people. And then, as simple as assign them some TED Talks or something to learn from. You can learn from podcasts like this.
Yes.
You can learn from TED Talks. There's all kinds of resources out there for small businesses to use where you don't have to spend a lot of money. There's a lot on YouTube.
There's also you lead by example.
Yeah.
So what I find out, the employees follow the example of the business owner, the leader. So
That's 1,000% right.
You develop the culture of discipline, of great customer service.
Yeah.
And they'll follow you.
Absolutely.
So I'm cognizant of that and how I behave, how I provide instructions, how he sees me interact with clients, with vendors, with attorneys, and because he's learning from me, even though it's not formal training, I'm aware that every email that I send, he's copied to.
That's right.
He's learning how to, because if it's the way I communicate with them, he'll imitate that, he'll emulate that, because that's the correct way that I'm setting the example.
Right. And that's great that you do that. What people need is they need mentors, right? And lots of great education out there. There's a lot of great educational opportunities. But the challenge for everybody really is after they get that education, how do they transfer that into real life? How do they transfer that into a career, into a job? Well, this is where they need guys like you who take somebody under their wing and say, hey, I'm going to show him everything I know. I'm going to teach him everything I know, the tricks of the trade, if you would.
Yeah.
And that takes time. And the biggest mistake I think that anybody makes is they don't make the time for training. They just kind of throw people into the fire because they need to get the business done. They need to get the day-to-day operations done. And they forget that this is an investment in an individual. And if you invest in them, then they're engaged and they create happy customers for you.
Absolutely. And is there a correlation between training employees and profitability of a business?
Absolutely. One of the foundational things that I teach is a concept that goes way back, and it's called the service profit chain. It's been around for years. All sorts of businesses have applied it, big and small. And what the service profit chain is, it says you have to put service before you get profit. And service starts with your team, and they call it internal service quality. What that means is it's creating a culture for your team to work in, and training is a part of it. But not just training, it's the day-to-day operation, the tasks that they do every day, the working conditions that they're in every day, the relationships that they have with their management and their peers. That's all part of the culture. And then the amount of time that you invest in training creates that morale, right?
Yep.
And then if you get a happy employee, they do two things. They stay with you because turnover can really financially hurt you if you have to keep replacing and replacing. But by investing in them, you keep them. And second, more importantly, they're productive and they give great hospitality. Then the guest feels that. Now, here's the cool part, Rich. If the guest feels the hospitality, the guest does something. They become loyal. Loyal guests spend money. Yep. They come back and they refer other people. That's how you make profit.
Absolutely. I'll add a third to your list of two. When the employee is properly trained, they get a good example, they're also passionate of working for you.
Yeah, I think the key to anything you do in life is find something that you love to do and get passionate about it. I don't care what it is. If you like to make pizza, make pizza. But don't just make pizza. Make it an experience.
Make the best possible pizza you can make it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And if you're an accountant, then be passionate about being an accountant, right? And give the best product that you can give and provide good advice to your clients, whatever you need to do. You don't have to be in hospitality per se to be passionate about what you do. Just find something you love and then do it extra.
Yeah.
one of the things I teach in all of my classes is the concept of being legendary. And if you're going to be legendary, you have to do the little extras.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think leading by example is very important. And one of the things that, especially with training and new employees, we have to allow them to make mistakes.
Yeah, and that's going to happen.
And we cannot, and as I talk to colleagues and other business owners who said, you know what, you're not going to be perfect at anything the first time you try it.
No way. It's like playing an instrument. I don't know if you ever tried to play an instrument.
Trumpet,
right?
when I was in high school, yes.
I tried to pluck at the guitar, right?
Yeah.
But the first time you do it, you put your fingers on the strings and you strum and it doesn't sound right. And it just, over time, you get calloused on your fingers and you can play the chords and you just keep practicing. And the more you practice, the more it starts to sound like something. And then before you know it, you string a couple chords together and you can play a song. But it takes time. And the great guitarists of all time spend hours and hours and hours and days before they can actually get up there and play.
Yeah, and as you know me and Sharon, our live studio audience, my wife, beautiful wife Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
We are students of the martial arts. We've been,
right, yeah, great example.
Practicing martial arts for 20 plus years, and between Taekwondo, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
and it's a very humbling sport.
Mm-hmm.
But to achieve, we're not, I speak for myself, I'm not a master of any of them.
Right.
I consider myself a student. But after a number of years, you become proficient at it.
Yeah, and you enjoy it. Right?
I love it.
And that's the key, right? So you found something, and this is a truth of life, whether it's a hobby or it's a career, right? Find things that you really love. And you said, you are good at it, you like to do it, you practice it, but you don't have to be the best at it either. Mm-hmm. Right? As long as you feel like you're making your accomplishments and you're hitting your goals that you want, then that's fulfilling for you and that's rewarding for you, right? And that's why you enjoy that. That's why people enjoy, just like if I was able to pluck out a song on a guitar, it might not be the best song in the world, but I enjoyed it. And maybe I made somebody smile along the way. And then it's worth it.
Yeah. One of the things that I, say, and I've said that to my paralegal and people that I speak with, that excellence is a choice.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really the difference between being average and being, choosing to be excellent. It's really not that much.
No, that you brought up a very good point.
But it makes a difference.
Yeah. Choosing to be average. I think, Rich, we live in a world that we have accepted mediocrity, that we have accepted the ordinary. And if you run a business and you just give the ordinary, then you don't stand out. You don't offer anything that anybody else can't offer. But if you do that little extra and you go above average for every customer, every guest that you have, then you create a memory for them. You create an unforgettable experience and they walk in and they go, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. And that's key. If they go, that was so cool, I didn't expect that to happen. And more importantly, I want that to happen again. Do you have a favorite restaurant?
Yes. Yes,
Can you say what the favorite restaurant is?
Renion's, yeah. Yes. Renion's of Coral Springs, yes.
Why is it your favorite restaurant?
We go there pretty much every week. Their food is excellent. Their service is second to none. And they actually, we consider family. It's for us, that's the feeling that they give us, that we're family to them and we build that relationship. So
what kind of restaurant is it?
It is a steakhouse.
Okay.
And then they serve all kinds of, it's really more of it's a high-end restaurant in Coral Springs area. But what I love about it is that the owners make their guests feel like they're family, and they're really genuine about it.
I bet you there's a lot of places you can go get a steak in Florida.
Correct.
Just like Vegas.
Yes.
You know how many steakhouses are in Vegas?
I'm sure there are many.
But every now and then you go to a place and the service is so unbelievable and they take care of you and they make you feel like family that you look forward to the next time, so much so that's your spot.
Yeah.
You feel like they know you, you know them, we're family.
Yes.
Special occasions, they know the special occasions in your life.
Yes.
There's a phrase out there that I heard a guy named Danny Meyer. Danny Meyer wrote a book called Setting the Table. He's an entrepreneur, a restaurant entrepreneur in New York City. He also owns Shake Shack. And he uses the phrase, collect the dots to connect the dots. So if you want to impact your business, every guest that comes in, you have to collect the dots, which means you start to learn about them. You learn about their likes. You learn about their habits. You learn about the things they're asking for. And you capture that information in a database or somehow you make yourself know that the next time Rich comes in, he likes his steak this way. He likes his salmon cooked this way. And before he even asks, you have it all ready for him. That's how you connect the dots after you've collected them. And that gives the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah. In fact, funny story that when we go to Runyon's, we have our table and we don't have menus and they have our order in the computer.
Yeah. See, there it is. They're collecting dots on you.
Yes, yes. But they actually know our birthdays, our anniversary, when it's anniversary. So, they sometimes give us cards. I mean, they truly, really go above and beyond.
Now, you don't have to tell me, Rich, but I bet you spend a little money there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. There's your profit.
Yes. Yes. And gladly too, because they give us an experience.
Yes. And that is the key to any business, right? If you give that experience to your guest or to your customer, they will come back and they will spend the money. And I know, and I asked you that question intentionally because you tell me about that place all the time.
Yes.
And you become their best marketing.
Yes.
So they save money there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to do it. And I'm truly happy to do it. I mean, they're small business owners just like I am. And, and they work so hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know how hard they work. And sometimes, they, like any of us, life comes in and you don't feel like going to work because you're exhausted, but they still show up and they put their best face forward and they make us feel, no matter what's going on in their lives, they make us feel like so happy that we actually went there.
Yeah. And you just said something else very important too, is, we all have things in our life going on, and we have to show up, right? And it's showtime. When you show up, you forget about everything else that's going on in your life and you're in that moment. And I call that a moment of truth, right? And in a moment of truth, you can create one of three moments: a moment of magic, a moment of mediocrity, or a moment of misery.
I love that.
And obviously, we want to create moments of magic for those guests, right? And if you're good at doing that, you will do better than anybody else. You'll be doing that little extra because most people are just giving enough of that ordinary mediocrity.
But having that type of attitude of excellence and great training to employees can be your competitive advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
Which will set you apart from the competition. The reality is, whether it's a law firm like I have and a restaurant like Runyon's, and they're just, you have competition. We're not the only ones doing this. But what sets us apart, and I myself like to include myself, is that we provide great service.
Yeah.
And I'm going now, this is, in October, will be my 20th year in practice.
That's awesome.
And thank you. And what is to me very comforting and what really humbles me is that I have clients still follow me since I began to practice.
Right.
And sometimes I get an email of people I haven't heard 10 years ago. And it's like, wow, you helped me with this 10 years ago. I need to have something to help me. And I'm like, wow, this is, it's very humbling to me then to know that I've made that impact. And you forget because you have clients come in and you're basically doing the work every single day. But when somebody comes back to you that said, you know what, I've been working with you for all this time, and we build that relationship, and that's the difference.
Well, that's, I think it was, somebody said, the essence of life is relationships.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really the key to your business, is you build those business relationships with people and they last for years. Right? Even the feeling never goes away. Maybe they go away for a little while. Maybe life goes on for a little while, but that feeling will always remain with them. And when they have a need that comes up in their life, they will remember what you did. And, that's if you're, think about it, that you're a plumber or an electrician, or you do maintenance on people's homes. Mm-hmm. There's another great example of if you don't visit them every week, but if something happens in their house and you gave them a great experience the last time, guess who I'm calling?
Yeah.
Right.
You call that person. I think people want to know that you care.
That's exactly right.
That you really care about. They come to you because they have a problem. In my case, they come to me because they have a legal problem that they want a solution for. And, at the very least, and something they can handle themselves. Mm-hmm. And which is, one of the reasons I wrote the book, Business SOS, a common legal mistakes business owners make and how to avoid them.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of business owners choose to handle legal problems themselves.
Right.
And so, after they try it or it does not work, then they call me, or because they really need the assistance and they want to have somebody who can listen to their problems. And I say, let's craft a creative solution.
Right.
And a lot of times, I delegate it to my paralegal, to other attorneys. But the idea is when you train employees, empower them.
Yes.
To listen, but also if they can solve the problem themselves and give them that leeway, that latitude to solve it, then you've done your job training them.
Yeah, absolutely. You said some more very important stuff. Empowerment is a very strong word and very important word with training. The trouble with empowerment is you have to trust. The only way relationships work are with trust.
Yeah.
And when you empower a team member, you're telling them, I trust you with my business.
Yes.
That's a very important step in the relationship because they take on that responsibility. And if they mess up, it's your butt, right? But because you're a good person that you are, you allow for them to learn and to make little mistakes and say, okay, or maybe that didn't go the way we wanted it to, but let's try it again.
Yeah.
Right. And that builds even more trust because you allow me to grow. You allow me to make mistakes. And that's the foundation. Here's the other part of trust. The guest end, they got a situation in their life. They have a need and they come to you to solve it. That requires trust.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's an important piece of any business. If you want to make profit, you have to build those relationships and that trust factor. And that trust factor will keep you in business a long time.
Correct. Yes. And in terms of the employee needs to know, they're going to do their best. Some things will not go according to plan. And I think how would you advise business owners that perhaps have a difficult time letting go and they micromanage and they want to be in control of everything?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them to give them a little bit more space to the employees to let them give it a shot?
Yeah. I teach empowerment. That's like one of the biggest topics that I teach. And as I said, the biggest trouble with empowerment is letting go and not doing it yourself. And I might give you a project, Rich, and say, I need you to work on this. I'm going to trust you with this. And then if about 30 minutes into it, I come by and I go, did you do it right? Let me see what you're working on. No, don't do it that way. Do it this way. And you micromanage like that. Then they're going, hey, I thought you trusted me. Give me a chance to do it. Right? Now, if you have questions, I'm here for you. But then you got to let go.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is just to let your team members fly. What every individual wants is what I call, you have to map out a plan. Mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Let people be good at what they want. That's mastery. Autonomy is let them do it on their own. And then purpose, let them see what they're doing has an impact and they're making a difference. And if you learn how to do that, give team members mastery, autonomy, and purpose in everything they do, they're going to do great things for you.
That's awesome. I love that. This mastery, autonomy, and purpose.
Yes. That's the map or the plan.
That's awesome. How can an employer, a small business owner, develop a small training program I'd say a small training program, but a training program for their employees where they don't have a large budget, they don't have access to a training and development professional, maybe 3 or 4 outline points. They say, you know what, you should have at least 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5.
I think you start by looking at the skills that you want them to have. What skills do they currently have? What skills do they need? And then simply look at how can I provide that skill to them? Can I teach it to them myself? Is there somebody else in my business that already has that skill that can develop them, that I could put them with as a leader, as a mentor? Or do I have to send them for outside training on something, whether it just be your local community college, whether it be an online course, whether it could be a book, it could be a resource that you give them, and let them then practice. So find out the skill, give them time to practice, and then reward efforts and progress. What I mean by reward efforts is if you see them really trying, keep encouraging them and give them more. And then when they hit that goal for the first time they strike chords on that guitar, the first time they ride that bike down the street without falling off, right? You say, oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you. Here's another bike. Here's another project. Because you did that one so good, you're going to do this one next. And maybe it's learning a new skill. But what you should do is you should set up in the beginning just a couple of skills that they can attain. Don't make it too big. Make it a goal. You know, the SMART goals, you've all heard of SMART. Yeah, specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic in time.
Yes.
Right? So make it a SMART goal, but just stretches that team member's abilities just a little bit, pushes them a little bit. You know they can do it. Don't make it too big that they can't do it because they'll feel defeated.
Yeah. You make some great points there. Glenn, one of the things that in terms of the training program, perhaps looking at the job description as well. What are the job descriptions the job responsibilities? And in a small business, one employee might do 3 or 4 different jobs. It's not, you don't really have one particular job description for each of them. So,
perform all necessary tasks as requested.
Yes, right? and basically in a small business, you learn by osmosis. It's just really no, sometimes we don't have a training program. But one of the things that I'm very cognizant about is that sometimes the employee will make a mistake. And, ultimately, the way I feel, I'm responsible for that. I mean, I don't care who makes a mistake, at the end, it is my responsibility. Either it was something that happened with the training, something happened with the communication. Even though it was a mistake, I'll just take the responsibility. Then I basically make sure that I communicate how to do it correctly the next time.
Correct.
So that way they learn. But we have to also give the employees the opportunity to admit those mistakes and not feel that, oh my God, what's going to happen to me?
Right.
Because we're humans. We all make mistakes. I make them.
Right.
Mostly daily.
We all
more
do.
than once. But you have to give them the freedom and the trust for them to tell you, listen, something happened. I made a mistake.
Yeah. That's another important part of a relationship, right? Is building a safe environment where they do feel safe and comfortable. And I feel comfortable, Rich, that I can come up to you and say, hey, I'm not getting this. Or I think I might have made a mistake here, Rich, without knowing that, oh my God, Rich is going to blow up on me. This is going to be the end of my career, right? It's safe. I can go to you. And if you create that culture that it's okay to have questions. And another big mistake people make is if team members ask you why, that's a good thing.
Yes.
It's not a threat. They're not challenging you. They really want the answers. And you have to communicate the why to them. That's super important. And I think that helps. You said something about job descriptions.
Yes.
And that's important, especially in the beginning, especially if you're looking for help, right? The more accurately you write a job description, the more likely employees will stay. Because if I read a certain job description and I applied for that job and then I get into the job and it's completely different than what I thought it would be, I'm not going to be happy. And the other thing that happens with job descriptions is the position changes over time. It starts out one way, and then your business goes a little bit different of a different direction, and you have more assignments for that position. You have to keep them revised. You have to keep them updated. And then you have to look at the specific skills that are on that job description and make sure your team member is getting those skills that they need and you're developing those skills.
Yes. In terms of the safe space, it's a very important point, because if they don't feel, you're as a business owner, your employee comes back to you and tells you, listen, I made a mistake, and you blow up, that's going to be the end of the relationship. Could be the end of the relationship, number one. Number two, I believe that the employee is going to be very hesitant of coming back to you again, telling you that something went wrong.
Right.
Because you blew up.
Right.
And, something will happen along the way. And in business, and I talked about this in my podcast and previous episodes, something is going to go wrong along the way. If anyone feels that in small business, things are going to go according to plan every single time, it's just not going to happen. That's completely unrealistic.
Just like life.
Yeah. Okay. Some things either because of you triggered, something because an employee trigger, something because a customer trigger, or something completely out of your control. something's going to go wrong. And as a business owner, you need to adapt and be flexible. And I believe by having great employees that are properly trained, you will avert a lot of crises.
Absolutely. And because you have that strong relationship with them, you'll work through the crises together. I mean, think of families, right? Families bond when there's challenging times. The families come together. And it's the same thing in a business. You're a family, right? And if you have strong relationships on those challenging days, on those challenging times, the team is going to come together and they're going to work through it together. Now, it's not going to be easy. And there are days that some people are going to screw up. And there's going to be some days that they need to be picked up. And there's going to be days they need to pick you up, right?
Yes.
And so it's a two-way street, but you hit it on the head.
I think that relationship is key, especially in a small business. You have a key employee, you have 2 or 3 key employees, so you rely on each other.
Yeah.
And there are going to be times that as a business owner, you will make the mistake. And it's important to you admit that. We're not perfect.
That is a huge attribute of leadership, right?
Yes.
Is the ability to say, hey, I made the mistake, right? You can't always put the blame on your team.
No.
And they won't trust you if you do. And you won't build that relationship. But if you can humble yourself enough to admit to your team, okay, I wasn't perfect. I tried this. It didn't work. Forgive me. Let's try to go another direction. They'll appreciate that.
Yeah. Some things are not going to go your way. You deal with it, and you like roll over it. You go over that and you basically say, okay, let's move on. That's it. That's all you can do.
That's it.
Tomorrow's another day. Nothing is fatal. So especially in small business, you can recover. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is what specific skills do you believe are essential for team development and how in today's things are changing in business?
Yeah.
What type of skills do you think that an employer should look for or a small business owner should look for in hiring new employees?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think somebody who is a resilient person, because they have to be able to adapt to change. Someone that's good with change management, super important. I think that we need to hire people who have emotional intelligence, especially in this day and age. We live in a day and age of AI and technology, and everything's online. But the ability to have interpersonal communication skills is really rare, and it's underdeveloped. And you are so tied to our computers and to our phones and to technology that sometimes we just forget to sit and have a conversation with somebody. So take the phones out of your meetings. Don't even allow them in your meetings.
Okay.
And talk to each other and say, hey, we've got to work through this. Your phones can wait. Everything can wait outside the door, but let's be focused in the moment, in the present. And then the emotional intelligence part of it is, let's be able to understand my emotions and the emotions of those around me, and let's have useful emotions that are going to make this better. It's okay to be passionate at certain times, but there's other times that we've got to sit and think and contemplate and let it resonate. And knowing when to be passionate and when to let it sit and resonate, that's emotional intelligence. And those are important skills for people to have. If you can hire people with those skills, that's even better. But I think the last piece of it is, especially if you're in a service business, you need to hire people that have the ability to care. You can't teach that. It's like in their DNA.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why that interviewing is very important.
Which got to be a whole different podcast on that.
Yes. Yes.
I worked before I became an attorney, I worked in HR for about 7 or 8 years at hospitals.
Yeah, okay.
So I used to be a professional recruiter for recruiting allied health and also nurses for 2 different hospitals.
Okay.
So
you know.
Yes. The hiring process and the interviewing process and hiring to the culture of the hospital. Each hospital had a different culture.
Important.
It's very important.
It's hiring to the culture of the organization, but also it's hiring to the fit of your team.
Yes.
Is this individual going to fit into our dynamic, into our team dynamic? Are they going to help us get to where we want to go? How are they going to fit into our family? Right? Is this the type of individual that will blend nicely with us?
How is it important for the, and I think I know the answer to this question, for the people that you bring in, your employee, to really work as a team as well, not just as an individual, be able to get along with as a team with their business owner, but also coworkers.
So this is tricky, especially with a lot of younger people come in. They have a very entrepreneurial attitude, right? They want to take on the world. They have all these great ideas, and they want to do it their way, right? It's important that you teach the value of collaboration. And I think that if they see the value of working together and collaborating on a project and reaching mutual agreement and having good cohesion and accomplishing something that way, you're going to accomplish a lot more. If we work in isolation, if we work in silos, you're not going to be as effective as you are working on a team, right? And so that team building, and you can do team building a lot of different ways, whether that's an employee party, right? Or it's just including them in brainstorming sessions, and asking for their opinions and their ideas on everyday operations, right? That's having them be part of the team. I seen one company that I worked for one time. They had different people do their pre-shifts every single day. Before they open their operation, they'd have a different team member do the pre-shift instead of the manager doing the pre-shift all the time.
Wow.
And that really built this team spirit and this camaraderie amongst everybody. They were encouraging everybody to get up there and do the pre-shift. And that was a neat idea.
That is awesome. We only have a few more minutes left, but I wanted to talk to you about mentoring as well, the importance of mentorship, especially as a business owner, to mentor those employees coming in.
Yeah. I think it's a lost art. Again, I think you see a lot of very bright, intelligent kids coming out of school these days, especially. They have great educations. They have great entrepreneurial attitudes. They have great goals. And they need somebody to help them make that reality, right? So I read this, or I saw it somewhere one time, and it always stuck with me. A lot of times we come in and there's a mountain, and we want to get to that peak. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to get to that peak, but no matter what we do, there's still a mountain there. And sometimes we want to get there overnight, but we need a mentor to teach us how to get up that mountain. Right? Yes. What steps do I have to take? What tools do I need? What resources do I need? What's in it for them if they do make it there? And what training do they need to be successful so that they can get up that mountain? And that's the kinds of things that you should ask yourself if you're a mentor, is provide those things.
Yeah, I think it's also important to be able to be clear in the expectations of what you expect of that employee.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Right? It starts with being clear on what their role is, your expectations from them, and then a super important thing, and we didn't talk about it, this is a whole nother podcast, is the ability to give people regular feedback, whether that's regular one-on-ones, whether that's 30, 60, 90-day performance reviews, one-year reviews, but you can't just give them a one-year review once a year. That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work, no.
But if you're meeting with that person regularly, that's also mentorship.
And I think part of expectations is also understanding that they expect something from you as a business owner.
Yeah.
You are the leader of this business. You're the leader of the organization. So I believe you lead by example.
Absolutely.
So we cannot expect the employee to act differently than we do or have higher expectations of them that we ask of ourselves.
You talk about being a mentor. What if the person that you're mentoring becomes just like you?
I'm not sure that's good or bad, but different conversation altogether. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, I understand that. And I see that in terms of the interaction that I see on the emails, how I influence my paralegal Richard and how the communication is to the opposing counsel, to the clients. And that is my objective, is to, because I know that every email that I send is read by him, he copied and everything. So I'm aware of how I communicate.
That's huge.
It's a lesson to him because he grasps in that communication and then he tries to emulate that when he communicates with others. So I'm very, very careful, very cognizant of that and how I communicate with others, especially in the written language and emails that we all do now.
Yeah, that's an important
because I understand
piece.
that.
Yeah, that's a very important piece. And, what if Richard one day became a better editor than you?
And sometimes, you know what? Interestingly enough, Glenn, he's actually my second pair of eyes.
See?
Because as I am drafting documents, and, when you draft something, you just don't see it all the time. You basically, and I sometimes make the mistake in haste send it to the client, and the client finds typos because I did it, and after I run through all the editors it just didn't pick it up. But I send it to him. He catches them. He's good at it. He sends it back to me.
And now a lot of that is trust, right? You send it to him because you trust him.
Yes.
Right. It goes back to that.
And many times I tell him to draft something, he sends it to me to, to look at it. I don't look at it. I say, just file it. I don't have to.
Trust him.
I don't have to look at that over and over again. It is fine.
I love that.
So you have to. Otherwise, if you micromanage your employees, you're not going to grow.
I agree.
And we go back to profitability. If you're expecting your business to grow and have employees, but you're looking over everything they do without giving them trust, you're always going to stay small.
And you also damper creativity.
Yes.
If you're watching everything they do and you make all the decisions, then they just stop, they give up. They say, well, not even worth it.
You have to choose, do you want an organization of people that just follow tasks or an organization of leaders that can actually grow with you? And that's the distinction. That is the difference. When you provide great training equals better profits.
Yeah. Remember, training gives you two things. It gives you skills, knowledge, and also, if you have that, it improves your attitude.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? You also sleep better at night as a business owner because your employees have your back.
Yeah. That's very cool. Well said.
Thank you. Thank you. Glenn, I'm so glad that you joined us today.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Thank you, my friend. And where do you work again?
So I work at Westgate, Las Vegas, the legendary Westgate of Las Vegas.
Okay. And it's a great facility. If you're in Vegas, check it out. Yeah. And this is episode 41 of Business SOS. Before I close, I do want to thank the studio of Sticky Paws in Las Vegas. Thank you, George, Travis.
Appreciate it.
And Uncle Marvin. The hospitality has been amazing. You truly, nice. Anybody interested in a podcast, check this facility. It's in Vegas. This is really state of the art. And they've been great hosts, and I truly appreciate your hospitality for allowing me to do this podcast today. To close, if you want to, for those listening today, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at richsierra.com. If you're interested in learning about our legal services, check out our website at floridasmallbusinesslegalcenter.com. We're on Facebook at FSB Legal. We can watch this audio podcast also. It's going to be on YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Richard Sierra. We're on X at Rich_Sierra. My phone number is 866-842-5202. Remember that Business SOS, 8 Common Legal Mistakes business owners make and how to avoid them. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also find it at your local bookstore. You can ask for it. If you like the podcast, please give me a 5-star review. Follow the podcast. Give me a review as well. This helps the algorithm recommend this podcast to other business owners. Until next week, this is Rich Sierra. Remember that my goal is to help you succeed.